Hey guys, this is Monolith Soft Guy. After much consideration and the recent release of the official art book for Xenoblade 3, which contains some very interesting information, I decided to make a video about Xenoblade X and its connection with the rest of the Xenoblade games. That being said, everything I'm about to tell you could turn out to be total bogus. Well, except for the direct quotes from the art book or games, of course. But ultimately, nobody can know for sure what Monolith Soft is working on next and what elements of the release games will find more or new usage in those games. So please lean back, relax and listen to what I'd call an at least interesting theory, if not definitive proof for a connection between Xenoblade X and the other Xenoblade games, and quite possibly a look into the future of Xenoblade. Here goes. As a final disclaimer, I'd like to emphasize that I know that other Xeno YouTubers have either made videos debunking any connections or made videos similar to this one. My hope is to combine everything we have in terms of hints and turn it into an easily digestible video. There are three larger reasons, or should I say, three sources of reasons that in my opinion prove the connection between Xenoblade X and the rest of the series. Source number 1. The radio at the end of Future Redeemed. While Future Redeemed was a great DLC story per se, its most shocking revelations probably stem from the infamous radio program that was being aired in the background while the player kept exploring the final area of the game. It is this radio that some fans use as proof for a connection to Xenosaga. What it really is, in my opinion, however, is paying homage to both Xenogears and Xenosaga, but most importantly mentions a lot of Xenoblade X stuff, namely the Coalition Government, the Earth Colonization Project, short ECP, as well as Project Exodus. The biggest argument against this being about Xenoblade X seems to be that certain things don't match up, which is correct until you allow some theorizing. We get into this later. For now it's important, if not fair, to understand that while there are connections to Xenogears and Xenosaga, there are much more important connections to Xenoblade X. And I will say this just once, it's also perfectly possible that Xenogears and Xenosaga are also connected to the Xenoblade games. That doesn't mean they're part of what follows Klaus' experiment, universe shenanigans, upper domains, lower domain, real numbers and imaginary numbers. Once you take a look into the rabbit hole that is Xenolore, you'll realize there is a lot of room for things to happen. And that too is der Wille zur Macht. Xenosaga fans will get that. Source number 2. The art book of Xenoblade 3. Now here's what prompted me to make this video to begin with. After reading certain things from the art book for Xenoblade 3, I couldn't help but get excited. Why is that? According to the art book, Mallor's story has not yet been told completely. Yes, the same Mallows who died at the end of Xenoblade 2. Takahashi Tetsuya goes on to talk about how characters from both Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 returned in Xenoblade 3 as both people and objects. An example for a manifestation of someone as an object would be Pyra and Mithra, who became Matthew's gauntlets, or Fiora, who became the sword Noah used. This concept of souls residing within objects is none other than Shintoism, a popular religious belief system in Japan that, simplified, claims that every object is inhabited by a spirit. Every stone, every tree, everything. So, taking this factual information, my theory is that Origin, the supercomputer built by Tora and the people of both Allrest and Bionis, that stored all the people's souls in Xenoblade 3, somehow disintegrated into the landmass around it and imbued souls into the planet itself. We get into more details about this later on, but for now it's just important to understand this is how Mira, the sentient planet, came to be. That explains how all the different alien species can understand each other despite speaking different languages. It's also why the MIBs, the robot bodies of humans, can still function even after the lifehold ran out of power. The planet is one giant network and helps with simple stuff like language, and a MIBs with a soul is simply the same as any object with a soul in it. No external power needed to keep the system running. Is that it? Kind of. Without the knowledge of how Takahashi applied Shintoism to Xenoblade 3, I would never have reached the above theory of origin imbuing an entire planet with souls. But the spiciest part comes from Melos' soul residing within N's sword. Melos, aka Logos, is still alive in some form. And now Xenoblade X fans will remember something else, which is Blade. Blade being used as an acronym for something. That something, in the Japanese version of the game, reads as follows: Beyond the Logos Artificial Destiny Emancipator. I won't even start speculating what that could entail, because my mind's running hot immediately at all the possibilities. But it seems that what us Western gamers thought to be some weird word salad that Japanese people often like to use, actually had some concrete meaning, referring directly to a character whose story is not yet over. Melos. Source number 3. The potential release schedule for Xenoblade 4, 5 and 6 on the Switch 2. For this last source of reasons that in my opinion prove a connection between Xenoblade X and the other Xenoblade games, allow me a short but logic-based argument. The only reason why Monolith Soft was able to give us a whole trilogy of Xenoblade games on the Switch was because Xenoblade Definitive Edition was only, quotation marks, a remaster. It was not a fully new game, and had it been brand new, we probably wouldn't have gotten Xenoblade 3 on the Switch 1. I can see Nintendo and Monolith Soft trying to repeat this pattern. First we get Xenoblade 4, then 2 or 3 years later we will get Xenoblade 5, which will be an extensive remaster of Xenoblade X. Quite some changes and new content, but still much less work than making a new game from the ground up. And then, near the end of the Switch 2's lifetime, we'll see the release of Xenoblade 6, the finale of the next Xenoblade trilogy. Realizing another trilogy is most likely only possible with one of the games being a remaster, and there's only one Xenoblade game out there that fits that role. Theory time. Now, with all these connections established, how can we turn this into a chain of events that makes sense? This is where I'm going deep into theory time, but stay with me, because at least for what we have, this theory should make sense. Phew, alright. The following is an attempt at a chronological order of all the events in Xenoblade. Number 1. Project Exodus is in full force. As we can hear from the radio at the end of Future Redeemed, the coalition government's Project Exodus is well underway. A new, higher capacity colony ship is supposed to launch soon. People are leaving Earth in hope to start life anew elsewhere. Number 2. Closed experiment. The experiment takes place, creating both the world of Bionis as well as all rest. Meanwhile, at least one of the colony ships made it safely to another planet, starting a new Earth on it. Whether this new Earth exists in the space of Bionis, Allrest, or elsewhere is unknown. Number 3. Bionis and Allrest reunite. Xenoblade 3 takes place. We see the worlds separate at the end of the game, but we know that they'll eventually gravitate towards each other again, and this time successfully reunite into one planet. We call it Re-Earth, the original Earth back together, but not quite. How much time passes between the end of Xenoblade 3 and the reunion is unknown, however. Number 4. Re-Earth is weird. So this reinstated Earth not only has humans living on it, it has catgirls and any kind of descendants from all the Blade beings, as well as High-Entia, Machina and Nopon, and a whole bunch of monsters. Not the Earth we had before Klaus hit the button. This causes conflict amongst its inhabitants too. Number 5. Origin starts acting up. There's one important question the game never answered. Why are Noah and Mio the only ones who exist twice at the same time? Only they have N and M, who are nothing but older versions of themselves. With the Shintoism theme in place, this points towards Origin's capability of creating really any number of the same soul, or better maybe incarnations of a soul. We still don't know what made Noah and Mio special, but now we know that Origin can put souls into objects. My theory here is that Origin kept doing that even after Bionis and Allrest reunited, causing some severe problems. Because what could possibly go wrong if you keep pumping spirits into objects, right? Well, number 6. People flee from Re-Earth. Origin keeps acting up, but it cannot be stopped anymore, because it kind of fused with the planet itself. Re-Earth's inhabitants built their own colony ships and flee to space. Or maybe there were colony ships hidden on the planet, recreated by architect Klaus' regeneration particles that we know from Xenoblade 2 and are programmed to regenerate old structures. Number 7. These Re-Earth refugees are Zemarians, ghosts, and anyone we meet in X. After going separate ways into far space and many years passing, all the species we learn about in Xenoblade X stem from ancestors from Re-Earth. Number 8. Re-Earth turns into Mirror. Ultimately, Origin causes Mirror to have at least some of the same effects as Ionios had. One of them being the fact that nobody can escape it, not even by means of time travel. Mirror becomes even weirder than Re-Earth ever was, a sentient planet that is capable of all sort of weird things, and we've only seen the more traditional, boring continents of it, going by Xenoblade X artbook illustrations of the planet. Number 9. A long time passes. Number 10. Earth at the beginning of Xenoblade X is not our Earth. Remember the new Earth that one of the original colony ships colonized? That's the one we see in the beginning of Xenoblade X. It's why these people still know the USA and such. Elma arrives on it, warns humans about the impending threat of dangerous alien forces approaching, and the Coalition government, still carrying the same name, starts up Project Exodus again, also the same name. Number 11. The NASA plaque. And if you need further proof of why this isn't our original Earth, the intro of Xenoblade X shows the golden plaque that NASA sent into space, originally carried by Voyager 1. It wouldn't make sense for this plaque to be anywhere near original Earth unless it was brought there, but we don't see any shipwrecks floating nearby, only the plaque. Rather than some theorizing that this means the plaque led aliens to attack Earth, I think it's meant to signify that this cannot be our original Earth, because the plaque wouldn't be there anymore. Number 12. The White Whale. Unfortunately, only few colony ships make it into space, because unlike the first time, New Earth is in midst of a planetary brawl between two alien forces. New Earth explodes, the White Whale finds its way to Mirror, aka mankind's origins, and crashes there. That is how Xenoblade X starts. And that's it. Wow, we somehow pulled it off. Before I end this video, that has gotten way too long, two things I need to address first. For one, I intentionally didn't put too much attention on time and dates. That's because I think there's various ways these games can be, and probably are, tricking us when it comes to time and dates. That's even putting potential retcons aside. For two, I understand that a lot of fans won't agree with my proposed theory. That's totally fine. My hope is that you at least give it a thought, and if you have a theory of your own, write it in the comments. Hopefully laying down my theory was some fun for you guys too. See you next time, everyone. Bye bye.
Alright, welcome to the Cool Kids